Here's a new tool I've been working on. It's over here on the ref over net. And right now I'm going to activate the key. I have a license server that activates keys. I gotta put my email address on the key. Okay, so now the tool is activated and it launched right here. And right now it's on auto mode. So it's essentially an overlay over the network editor. And I have different window modes. You can scale it up. And it's got 3 modes. Right now I've got it on the locked window. If I move this, you can see that the images stay relatively in the middle. If I move it like this, then the images stay stationary. If I turn it back into auto, then it'll go back to the last configuration. Let's say I want to put it on this mode. If I change the window, the images stay there. If I put it there, it stays there. If I want to resize this window and then I close it, when I launch it back up, it will go into auto mode and it will keep the scale of the network editor. But if I put it on this setting here, now I can reposition it, close it, launch it back up, then now it will be the scale and the position. But the images might be offset, so the images can be moved like this and repositioned. And yeah, you can zoom in into the network, and the images are synced with the navigation of the network editor. Now you can also go to different paths. So different paths have different image configuration. They're all saved in a JSON file. All the images are saved in a JSON file, and they're based by path. So every path has a different image library. These are all the images that I've saved. And images can be moved like this by just clicking and dragging them. And then if you just click and drag on the yellow line, then you can scale them up. If you want to deselect them, you just click the back border there. Also, another feature is to load images that already exist. So let's say you want to load this image right here, or you want to load multiple images. They will come in a grid format like this. So they will just go next to each other, and then you can move them into place, and you can scale them down if you need. In this case, they're not as relevant because they're part of another part of the network, but now that I don't want them here anymore, I can just remove them, clicking them and remove them. And now let's say in here I want to look at a specific part of the network and take a snapshot. So let's say this piece here, this one doesn't have a mask, so I'm gonna visualize that part of the network, and then I'm gonna go in the scene view, and it looks like, for example, this was a cylinder that had a meta ball and then it was bulged. So I want to capture this part of the network, so I'll take a screenshot of that, and now that image has been added to the bottom area here. So you load it up there and position it in the over here, the part of the network that it was taken from. I don't like this one anymore, so let's remove that and let's place that one over here. Scale it down. So now we know that this area of the network is represented by this snapshot. If I right click and drag, I can scale the entire canvas, because this is basically images on a canvas. You can visualize them by this. If you move this, the canvas changes. The canvas can be visualized there. This is all calibrations for the syncing of the network editor and the overlay navigation. So that's how I'm just normally navigating the network view. The overlay is also matching the network view. It's an exponential zoom, which I calculated through recording a template where I would record different stages of the zooming. I'll get into that in another video, but yeah, essentially I created an image, this blue image right here, and I would zoom it up and I would match it to a box, like for example this one on the right, and then I would scale and it would record not the image, but say I would scale the network. Let's select, so I would right click here and then I would record that through this system, and I would do it again, and it would keep track of the values of the scale. And so that way I was able to find that it was an exponential zoom. That's a bit too complicated at this moment. Let's just focus on the actual functionality of the tool. Another feature. So yeah, let's ignore this because it's more like debugging and development tools. Let's focus on the snapshot. So another feature for the snapshot was the ability to snapshot the UI itself. Let's say this bulge setting right here, I want to capture that. Also attach it to this. Let's say I want to just like remember what the last setting was. I just put it right there. I can scale this down even more and move this up. Something like that looks good. Okay, and then zoom back up. Okay, like reposition. I wanna be able to keep this more consistent, but when you first open the tool, you wanna kind of get a glimpse of what everything is doing. So there's a really good way to pass your scripts to someone else and have them get familiar with everything that's going on pretty quick. Maybe they wanna take notes and things like that. So there's a very visual way to represent that. Since right clicking and dragging is for zoom, you can also use that for manipulating the entire canvas. I added this button right here that will lock. So if you right click and drag over here, it won't do anything unless you do it outside, just so that you don't accidentally scale some of the images as you're navigating the network. And then this lock canvas, by the way, this configuration, like if I lock it right now, it will remember it next time I launch the tool. They will be saved in the JSON file. The lock navigation, it's a different way of using the tool. It's more intended to use it over on the scene view instead of over on the network editor. Let's say I'll move it over here and I wanna just have images overlaying the scene view. Let's say I wanna have let's say this image right here, or let's look for a more generic one. Let's say I want to have that, and yeah, right now the image, the window doesn't scale completely because this should be more of a hidden menu, I think. But let's say I have the image, so we can expand it down. We can have a couple of them right there. Now, if I lock it, I can manipulate the scene view, and the image would just stay locked in there. I'll unlock it. Now I can navigate again. one thing that we could do in this situation, because this is already too crowded, let's move over here. So move this over. Let's take a snapshot of the viewport of that. And now we have that image in the overlay. Let's take it over and scale it up. Now we move it over here, and let's just ignore all the other stuff that's there. And now we got that image locked in place. So we can use it for comparing or something like that. The frame, another feature. Let's put this to automatic and remove. Like, so right now we have this image locked, and it all kind of looks different scales. Let's first remove that, frame it, so that will sort of bring things more into view, and it will make them the original image size, but it will also try to put them in the center of our network. We can line it up again. There we go. Let's see, load images. We loaded some images. Another thing, these images are saved under a folder called the ref folder. And in here, there's a lot of images that have been taken through the snapshot tool. And you can, eventually I wanna just clean this up because they just keep adding up if I don't remove them. Essentially, not all of them are in the network view, but they're all kind of getting added up in there. This feature here, in case your window gets off screen, like just down here, you'll be able to recenter everything. And then when you launch it back up, it's in a place where you can manipulate the top bar. So if you want to set it up, I get there, close it, bring it back up. Now it's all synced again. Again, you can go back and forth in different paths. It's still work in progress, but I think so far it's pretty functional. If you want to take notes and make it easier to understand what the network is doing, point at things instead of having to click every time on the network, it's easier to remember where everything is. I'm going to continue to develop this tool. For now, it's enough to put it to the test. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'll see you next time.